So recently, I've been having these really weird signs that I should watch the film Amityville Horror. Now, why I say this is because I've recently been watching the Conjuring films. I've been going through all of them one after the other, and obviously Amityville pops up a couple of times in there because of one of the Warren stories. I've also recently went to watch the Krampus movie, sort of the really good Krampus movie that was out a few years back. But I watched it on a special showing at my local cinema, and in that, when the camera pans out onto the neighbourhood, the next door neighbour's house is the Amityville house. That's kind of a nice little Easter egg. So again, I'm thinking, oh, so Amityville's been running around my head, and I did see Amityville when I was younger, but I was very, very young. And if I'm honest with you, I can't remember much about it. It's a bit of one of those films where it's sort of kind of blurry. I remember it being a bit weird and creepy, but I don't remember much else going on. I probably didn't understand it. I was probably too young to even get what was going on. So anyway, I popped down to my local CX, as I often do, and I managed to go through the A section, and I found an Amityville Horror. But while I was looking for an Amityville Horror, I also found the remake of an Amityville Horror. And I remember a friend of mine telling me the remake's actually better than the original, which never happens. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get both, and I'm going to watch them over a couple of nights. So the one I went for first was obviously the original, and I watched it. It actually took me 2 nights to watch it because I did that thing that we all do. You know, when you sort of like think, I'm going to put a film on now, and it's a bit late to put that film on, and you sort of get part way into it, and you sort of your eyes are going, and even if you're enjoying the film, you still just fall and you start to go. So I was like, I've got to turn it off. Anyway, I then started again the next night, and I watched it. And do you know what? The thing that got me the most, right? And this is a weird thing. This is obviously a me being a pop cultural person. Was the first thing I was like, Lois Lane's in this movie. So Lois Lane from the Christopher Reeve Superman is actually in this movie. It's Margot Kidder, and I've never seen her in anything else really apart from Superman. So it's kind of trying to displace her from that character. And also you see her like naked and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, I shouldn't be looking at this. This is like something from my childhood massively, and she's like naked, and it's really weird. But anyway, so and also it's got James Brolin in it, and this film has that weird late 70s creepiness to it. Like a lot of the late 70s films, like we're talking things like The Omen and The Shining and all those type of films. There's a, and like what's that? Wicker Man. Those there's something about these movies in the 70s that really give a creepy vibe. You feel unsettled in them. I don't know how they managed to do it. I don't know if it's the cameras or the directors or the whatever they used, but it's saying about it is really, really creepy. And it's always thought about these sort of like 70s movies. So anyway, so the film is basically based on a true story. Now, the true story is that it was 1974, a guy goes into his house with a shotgun. He kills his brothers and sisters. I think there's like 4 or 5 in the family. Kills his brothers and sisters and his mum and dad, and then he gets arrested and whatever. And this all happened true. And then a year later, a family moved into this house, and after 28 days of living now, they just leg it out one night, leave all their stuff behind, and they never go back to that house again. Don't go back for their belongings, just never set foot near that place again. And then later on, they sort of revealed that there was like ghostly happenings in the house, creepy stuff going on, and they just basically left because of that. And that's where this film comes in. So it's basically the story of the next couple that moved into the house and all the creepy stuff going on. Now, whether you believe that stuff or not, doesn't really matter, but it's just one of those creepy things. Now, the thing they don't touch on this film is the Warrens side of it, because the Warrens are obviously this famous paranormal eliminators, investigators, whatever you want to call them, and also what the Conjuring films are based on. But they don't actually mention them at all in either of these films, which I thought was weird because they were kind of famous at the time, but obviously they stayed away from that. So, the first film, quite a good watch, but it was kind of like, obviously it's a dated film. They couldn't do a lot with the special effects in that. There is a lot of creepy stuff, but there's also a lot of stuff that didn't need to be in it. So for instance, there's a lot, and I mean a hell of a lot of outside shots of the house, just looking at the house in various different color variations. They use different like camera tricks to make the house look different, but it seems to happen far too much. It kind of wound me up at the speed it sort of went on. The other thing is, there's a weird story sort of like about the priest, which I thought would be more as the film went on. So a priest goes in the house to bless the house. A load of flies attack him. House tells him to get out, and then you see him get iller, and he sort of then goes back to his what they call it, other priests. They're trying to. He wants the house looked at and sorted out, but they're saying no. And I thought more would come of this, but nothing ever really comes of it. The priest ends up going blind and then gets ill, and it's a really weird. They sort of never follow through with whatever they. I thought the priest was going to come back at the end and try and save the day or something, but then it's dead. So it's like, to me, that whole bit shouldn't have been in it. And in the remake, they use it again, but they use it in a better way. But it was just a weird, why was that even in there? And yeah, so, and also, yeah, so the thing with this one is that obviously the new family that move in, it's husband, wife, which is Margot Kidder and James Brolin, and their 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. And then the kids aren't really a big part of it, which kind of, it's mainly the 2 adults that the film fully focuses on. There's little bits with the children. The 2 boys might as well not even been in the bloody film because they don't do much in it anyway, apart from scream a little bit near the end. And it's the girl kind of has a moment where she's talking to someone in the house, like another person in the house, like a child in the house, like a ghost, I suppose. And she's sort of like, that's it really. But I would rather focus on the entire family. It's mainly about sort of the dad that basically, after a while in the house, he goes nuts. That's the only way I can put it. He literally goes nuts. And it's like the house is slowly taking over the guy, if you know what I mean. Like the house has taken control of him and he's kind of making him evil. It's very much The Shining in a way, where the house is the overlook. I don't know which came first. It was just thinking like The Shining first, or did the Amityville stuff happen first, and did the people read The Shining and then put it into their own story, and that's where the craziness comes from? I don't know. But to me, it's very much sort of like that. And then it's the fact that the man is slowly getting more evil, slowly getting more nasty, slowly getting more bad-tempered, and then like eventually snaps at the end. But then the family kind of get away and the film ends. So long story short, I'm trying not to give away too much for spoilers and stuff in case you want to watch it yourself. But the story's like massive. It's been in history books and stuff as well. So that was that. So then I watched this first one. I thought it was a decent watch, but I wasn't impressed. Like, I've seen a lot better, but it was still worth watching. There was some really dodgy special effects in this as well. It's like, there's one scene where you see through a window and there's like a demon, but it's like a pig with red eyes. And it's really bizarre. Like, why would you, I don't know why they picked that one. But there's also some good effects, like with the blood and the blood bleeding out the walls with bullet holes from the previous thing and stuff like that. So there's some good effects in it as well, but there's also some really bad ones, and it's sort of like so bad that I wouldn't have even done it if that was me. So I thought it was all right and moved on. Went to get the remake. Now I thought if this one wasn't that great, if I wasn't impressed as much by this one's going to suck, because remakes always suck, don't they? They're always rubbish remakes. Like, don't get me started on Nightmare on Elm Street. That remake, I'm just, oh my God. But remakes generally aren't as good. Generally, there are a few exceptions. The Thing, as in John Carpenter's The Thing, like the proper Thing, like the one from the 80s, actually a remake of a film made in like the 60s or something. So it can be, things can get better. Things really can get better. So, and I would say Little Shop of Horrors, the musical, is better than the original black and white Made for a Dare. So it does happen. But so I've started putting this one on, and at first thing I was like, it's Ryan Reynolds. Deadpool's in this film. Like, it's another one of those shock moments where you're like, oh my God, I didn't know they were in it. So I was quite shocked by that. Next thing I see is there's a girl in it, the wife character, and she's played by someone from Home and Away. If you're British or Australian, there's 2 massive soaps that come out of Australia that sort of hit big in the UK as well. It was Neighbours and Home and Away. And when you're my age, those shows were massive. This is when like Kylie Minogue was in it, in Home and in Neighbours. Jason Donovan was in Neighbours. So everyone was like loving Australian soaps. And Home and Away was the next one to come on. And this girl played a character called Angel in it. And I remember her vividly because she had some crazy story on where a house fell or something. And I was like, wow, that's the Angel from Home and Away, like madness. And then you see the daughter, and the daughter is actually the girl from Kick-Ass. So the young girl does with Nicolas Cage is the girl from Kick-Ass, and she was also Carrie in the remake of Carrie, which is not as good as the original, definitely not as good as the original. So I was like, okay, impressive like actors and stuff in it now. And this is like Ryan Reynolds with a black beard. It's kind of like very much like he's in Blade 3. So anyway, I'm watching this one, and I love this one. This one was, in my opinion, better than the original, which you won't hear me say that often, but I like this one. This one was more creepy, had a few jump scares, the special effects, obviously special effects have moved on. I mean, this was made in like 2006, I want to say 2005. This was made. Obviously, this one's made in 1979, so you can understand the effects have moved on, but they used them really well in this. There's some really scary moments, really horrible moments as well, proper like, ooh, moments. But much better film. They focus more on the entire family and the dynamic, the fact he's the stepdad. I mean, that is mentioned in the first film, that he's the stepdad, so obviously there's a bit of friction now. But this one really dives into the friction, especially with the older son, and how he sort of sees him as sort of like, I don't know, like the whole like the older son's not comfortable with a new dad sort of thing. But and then how the house kind of uses that to manipulate the dad into seeing dodgy things about him and that. Very well done. A lot more like the whole storyline with the daughter and seeing the ghost girl. That was creepy. Like the ghost girl that she keeps seeing, that you keep seeing as well, is really, really creepy and definitely works so well with that. The whole storyline, the story moves on. And as I said before about the priest thing, the bit that kind of annoyed me in the original film was the priest storyline went nowhere. With this one, they use a tiny section of that story, and what they do is they like just use the back where he goes in the house, then legs it from the house and says to her, "Look, I have no part of this. Like, it's too much in that house." That's all they needed for you to feel that. The whole continuing that priest part of the story on was just pointless. Another thing I'll mention, in this version, there's a scene with a babysitter, which is horrible, and I do feel for this babysitter. Basically, there's a girl babysitting when the mum and dad go to a wedding. This girl comes on, babysits the rest of the children in the house. It's that classic thing where in America they have like teenagers that come and babysit your kids, and I don't know if that ever happened in this country. I know we often have babysitters that get family and friends to look after your kids when you go out, but I don't know if we had the whole babysitter culture like they do in America. But anyway, so she comes over, ends up getting locked in a cupboard and just freaks out because she can't get out of the cupboard, all the lights go off and that. They do it very, very differently in this one, and the babysitter is just the worst girl imaginable. She's horrible. She tells the kids the story of the house and all that. Oh my god! But then she ends up in the cupboard with the ghost girl, and there's a really freaky bit where the ghost girl puts a finger through the hole in her head where the bullet was. Bizarre. But anyway, this one actually did the whole babysitter story better. But this one goes proper balls to the wall, and Ryan Reynolds is terrifying in this. Like when he goes proper full on evil, he's terrifying. But the one good thing is they work out that if you take him away from the house, he actually goes back to being himself. But in the house, he gets nasty, horrible. He's really nasty to the kids and really nasty to the wife as well. Just a great performance by Ryan Reynolds playing this like nasty character. Because normally he's that funny. We all know him obviously after Deadpool and that he's that funny, mouthy, cocky kind of guy. In this, he's kind of got like at the beginning, he's really charming and lovely. The same with this one as well, really. The guy does it well in this one as well. But he's this like really charming and nice guy, trying to be a good stepdad. And then he just turns into the nastiest stuff he comes out with, the horribleness of him. Just not nice guy at all. And it really shocked me, like how Ryan Reynolds does a good portrayal. Everyone in this film acts really well, by the way. Everyone in this film is pretty good. There's some really sort of like all tense scenes as well, like a girl on the roof and she falls and they have to grab her and that. Again, I'm trying not to give away too many spoilers in case you want to watch it yourself, but I'd say, and I've just already said it really, but this one is far better. The remake is far better than the original. Both pretty decent, but I'd choose this one. If I was you had to get rid of one, I'd get rid of the original and I'll keep the remake because it was a much better film, much more enjoyable, and it is more modern. I mean, it's still set back in the 70s. Like, it's the same story. It's a horrible story. I feel for everyone involved in it in real life as well. And whether you believe those stories or not, I know a lot of people. I mean, I actually watched the making of documentary on the original one when I finished watching the original film. So I got a bit of time, so I started watching the making of documentary. And there's like a one of the documentaries is literally just James Brolin and Margaret Kidd talking about it, and they even kind of comment on how the story might not have been like true, if you know what I mean, without trying to say that. And that apparently there's been a lot of rumors around that film. Now I remember these rumors back when I was younger, that weird things happened to the actors on the set, like as in like almost like the movie was cursed. A lot of weird stuff happened, and they kind of admit in this documentary that they were told to say things like that. So they'll say, like he said, like, "Oh yeah, my food fell off into my lap," like as if like they would tell the press things like that. And he's like it happened on all the other films I've been on, like as if like it never really happened. They just were kind of egged on to say creepy stuff was happening on the set, trying to help sell the film. Genius idea, because it's going to make people want to go and see if they think maybe weird stuff happened in it. So I like that. I like the fact that the sort of the actors were trying to egg on that sort of like, oh yeah, yeah, weird stuff happened. Yeah, I saw a coffee cup move across the table, and they knew it didn't happen, but they were helping out with the film, and it did quite well. Apparently, the film did really well in the box office. So yeah, well done. Um, anyway, I hope you like this little review. I know it's kind of a weird one trying to compare the two. I didn't really know how to compare the two. I sort of watched it and was like, oh, I preferred that one. But yeah, if you want to watch the story of Amityville Horror, obviously I would recommend you see the remake original. But I mean, to be honest, the true story is kind of more weird anyway. So if you want to watch a documentary about it, go. Probably there's bound to be about 1,000 of them on YouTube. But the actual DVD, this was the special edition one of the original Hammer, the original Amityville Horror, and it had quite a few documentaries on it. One of them about sort of like there's one from the History Channel about if it was real or hoaxed and stuff like that. So it's stuff about the true story in the documentaries as well as the actual movie making. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little fun little review, and I'll see you soon. And there is going to be a Conjuring video coming soon because you heard me say about I've watched all of them. I've actually sat down watching with my children, my older children, so it's going to be them talking about the films as well. When we finish, we're currently up to we're about to start the Conjuring Devil Made Me Do It, I think it's what it's called, and then we've got the Nun 2, and that's it until they bring out the new one. So there we go. But we're going to do those up till the Nun 2, and then we're going to sort of sit down with the kids and we'll discuss which ones are the favourite, which are the scary moments and that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Oh, and it really, really would help if you could like and subscribe, because my kids are like, we need to get to 500. We need to get to 500. And like the other day, I got recognised from the YouTube videos that I've done so far. And my stepdaughter flipped out and thought I was like now Michael Jackson famous or something. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys soon, and enjoy yourselves.